Hello, everyone. Greetings on this. It's pretty darn cold here tonight. I don't know where everyone else is, but it's quite cold here. To the Foul Play YouTube channel, and tonight Doc is taking some more time. He's not quite ready to go with the next presentation on the aftermath with Brendan Dassey. So he decided to take a week. So we might as well jump in and look at some more of the new version of these DCI reports. So this is Open Mic 239, and how you doing, Christina?
I am here. How are you, Jax?
Doing good. We had uh, you know we had quite the discussion last week. It was good. It was really
Yeah,
good. I mean, we
it
didn't get a lot
was.
of didn't get a lot of reading done or looking at these new reports, but hey, that's great. It
Yeah,
evolved.
yeah, it was a very good podcast. I really enjoyed the discussion, the diverse
Oh yeah.
perspectives.
Yep.
Um, I think that's where we can really further discussion is when we have a wide range of brain thought coming to the table, Um, and I enjoyed Raven being on the show, and
Oh,
it was good
absolutely.
it was good to catch up with Jerome, and um,
Yep. I agree.
I, and
I agree.
it was
What's
awesome.
that? It's always good to have you know um, people from 100 different walks of life with their perspective of what they see, because we don't all, you know, we get accused of being, in an echo chamber and all this other kind of noise, and it's just not true at all. We can agree if we have 100 points to talk about. We can agree on 50 of them, 60 of them, even more. But there could be 50 we don't really agree with how we view an event that occurred. And I get that, and I'm okay with it.
Well, it gives me what I like about talking to people who are still aligned with guilty being the likely outcome, um, is their reasoning for it, right? Because I can only approach why someone would think he was guilty from what my mind would have to see. But it's interesting to see someone who doesn't agree with a lot of what the cops did, which I think at this point, if anyone says they agree with the cops, um, like how they handled the investigation, they're just, I no comment. But it's interesting to see how they can still see how they're able to say Stephen is possibly guilty or likely guilty, and yet still think the cops did everything wrong. That's what I like having, is different ways of looking at that,
Sure.
because I'm so immersed in all the garbage the officers and the district attorneys did. It's hard for me to put that aside and see the evidence presented from a narrative that the evidence was found legitimately or is an accurate representation, if it was moved by officers or improperly collected, but it was still deposited by a crime committed by Stephen and Brendan against Teresa. And that's, I think that's where Raven's coming from. If he's listening, he can join
Yeah.
in
The,
and
the, the,
correct me if I'm wrong.
they're in the live chat.
Okay.
We got a lot of the our usual folks. I know a lot of college football's on tonight, and I started not to just leave tonight open, and because I know a lot of people, I love college ball, so I was actually had it on earlier, but I decided to press on. You know, not everybody's interested in that kind of thing, so and we can knock out a few of these.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going through and
The Gators played last night. They played in the Gasparilla Bowl. I think we won.
did you?
Well, yeah, well, I think it was like 20-0, I believe, when I last looked at it. I haven't been feeling well, so I went to bed pretty early. But yeah. All right. What report are we on?
We are on. I just popped it on stage here. Get it on here. 249.
All right.
Yep, we're at page 1109. This is where we stopped. And you know, this search report or this search warrant, um, and buckle swab for Brendan. This is on 3-1 to 3-3. It says 3-3, but the search warrant was the afternoon of 3-1 and 3-2. And yeah, this all occurred in rapid succession after the Fox Hills. We talked about that quite a bit on the actually there was 3 interviews on the 27th with Brendan at school, after school, where they took him, and then that night they got abducted too, and it was an abduction, as far as I'm concerned. There was no safety issue. There was no safety, nothing. And Barb said that told her that if they left, she'd be arrested. So, in any event, they were taken to Fox Hills and kept there overnight. And if there's no safety issue or whatever concerns the following morning, so what safety concern? It's so crazy.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so 3 interviews on the 27th. An important one.
That was an
Is
attempt. That was an attempt to get the narrative stuck in Brendan's head. They were using the like the belief, if you repeat it over and over in a short period of time, it goes from short term to long term. You know how when you're studying for a test, remember spelling words, how the teacher would always tell you, keep practicing it. The more you practice in a session, the more it'll go from your short term to your long term. Remember that when we were younger?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's Sapper Cop. Good. I hadn't seen Sapper on.
Hey.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I know Sapper. There was no safety anything. But the 27th is also interesting. There was a Fassbender and Special Agent Lewis. I can't remember their first name. They did a number of interviews on the evening of the 27th, and then rushed back over to Fox Hills at 10:50 at night, and Fassbender grilled Brendan, and he asked Brendan about this stain they cleaned up, and that we finally got this drawing. Brendan says, "Well, it smelled like oil." Fassbender's, "Well, could it have been blood?" "Well, yeah, it could have been blood." But him saying it smelled like oil, why would Fassbender say, "Well, where does blood come from?" They had already been in that garage, and they didn't find anything. I mean, of Teresa, they found.
No, and they'd already tested it, and they knew it wasn't blood.
Well, they couldn't find any evidence that it was blood at all, and they certainly didn't test to say it was bleach either. They didn't test for that, but they kept implying it. There was a really good presentation Doc did, really pointing that out and how much they hammered on bleach, and they kept saying it over and over again, but they never tested for bleach at all. Anyway, so the 27th is another really interesting date because allegedly, according to what Uyghur testified to, they were really concerned after this interview with Kayla. They waited a freaking week to go talk to Brendan. Well, if it was such a concern, why didn't you immediately go and talk to him? But they didn't. And I want to know what they did during that week. I'll never find out. It's rhetorical. I'll never find out what they did. Oh, yeah, Fox. That's right, Zapper.
We don't have any reports from that week.
There's some, but I mean, there's really no events during that week that would tie that I saw that would tie them up for the entire week. No way. So anyway, let's get to this search warrant. Let's get on down here. Of course, this was Fassbender, and it's got Wendy Baldwin Schmitz up here. Notice the name change.
Yeah. That's an interesting character.
Oh, yeah. Friday, March 3rd, 10:44 a.m., Fassbender obtained 2 buccal swabs from Brendan Dassey. Now, they took him to Aurora, I guess, is where they took him. I can't remember. Buccal swabs were obtained pursuant to search warrant issued for that purpose. Said search warrant was obtained by investigator Wendy Baldwin. See, it's Baldwin down here. Schmidt's up on top. It's not misleading at all. Queso, signed by Manitowoc County Judge Jerome Fox. Dassey just completed his initial appearance in the Manitowoc County Circuit Court and was in a holding cell at MTSO awaiting transport back to Sheboygan County. Fassbender and Wiegert and investigator Wiegert and Remaker and he's got the name spelled wrong. Wow. That's interesting. Of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department contacted Dassey and informed him of the search warrant and the requirement to obtain the buccal swabs. Dassey provided with a copy of the warrant. Dassey cooperated and allowed Fassbender to obtain the swabs inside each cheek. So they didn't take him anywhere. Fassbender collected them.
Isn't that interesting?
Yep. Yeah, it is. Remaker's, I just had it in my mind they took him to Aurora, but they didn't. Remaker assisted in the packaging of the swabs and sealing of the package. Fassbender also obtained from the Manitowoc jail full palm print cards for Dassey, which had been obtained from Dassey after his arrest and during his booking procedures the Manitowoc County Jail on March 1. Evidence. That's pretty thin. Okay, well, that's the fingerprint cards, I guess, and the buccal swabs. Evidence disposition. Okay, we're not going to read through all that. They didn't really have anything.
Oh, we kept them for 4 days.
Yeah. There's really not much there. Electronically attached supplemental report or copies of the search warrant and the crime lab receipt. Okay. Well, I'm not going to read through all that. I need to zoom this down one click here and we'll move on. There's really not much to say.
Wow, I did not realize Brendan was almost 6 foot tall. Do you know how crowded that bedroom would have been with a 200-pound, 6 foot tall, gawky, awkward teenager?
Yeah.
Supposedly in the midst of committing sexual violence for the first time against a struggling female.
Stabbing, throat cutting, all this ultra violence against her.
Yeah. And then you have if it's possible, not right now, if you can get some, if you know where the photos of Stephen's room is, post them up. Maybe we can chat about like just how you would have to walk sideways around his bed to get in, because there was so much stuff in there.
Well, I mean, really, you only had the entryway from the bedroom door. Then there was that little old record cabinet, and he kept his house
And the
shoe.
desk.
Well, then the desk beside that. Then to the right was the bed.
Yep.
And
And then you had the closet. But I'm just saying.
Well, you had more than that. To the front right of the bed, toward the end up there, you had that chest of drawers and the TV sitting on top of it.
Right. And I'm just as someone who's lived in a trailer like that, I know how tight you have to walk sideways. Like, it's not a 15 by 15 bedroom. It is at most probably 14 foot wide and 12 foot. And then you've got a bed, which is probably, I don't know, what, a queen? I don't think it's a king.
I'm guessing that was a queen bed in Stephen's
Yep.
room.
And then you have that, I don't know if anyone watching the live chat has ever owned an actual box TV, but they are not tiny.
I have many of them.
And they are not light.
No.
And then a full-size dresser.
And the nightstands on beside the bed.
Yep. And I think there was something on the corner on the other side by the closet too. Up at the front. They had he had the gun racks. Raleigh had his gun racks with his guns. And then they had like those cheesy lights. Remember, Jody had hung them.
Yeah.
Yeah, not my style. I'm not saying cheesy. They're cheesy to me, but that don't make them cheesy in general. Whatever floats your boat. Don't come for me.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. And they like the little lay Hawaiian lei thing hanging on one. I haven't looked at them photos in a while. I'm doing all this by memory. And then you have the box TV on top of the dresser. Then you have that desk with all this stuff on it. Then you have the nightstand. Then you have the record cabinet.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of room in there
There was no empty floor to wall space. Every piece of wall had something on it.
Yeah. And there's really basically just a very, well, in some areas, a very narrow walking path. I mean, getting in the door, there was room, but we saw the photos between the bed and the desk and record cabinet was literally right there in front of you, literally.
Whoa. Oh yeah. Well, when Buting, I believe, that questioned Kucharski, and he said, "Where were you when you were supervising Link and Colburn?" And Kucharski said, "I was sitting on the bed."
That's right.
So
basically, their Colburn's ass would have been in his face. Pardon the language, but it would have been. It was right there.
Yeah, you were sitting on the mattress where you are claiming a violent crime had occurred.
Yep.
Because they didn't take the mattress.
No, immediately they didn't, but they did take it and found nothing. I guess she tested it, but I can't remember. Here's an interesting comment, going back up just a little bit, talking about what we were talking about a minute ago. Brendan was in danger for a whopping 12 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's well said, Sapper. Well said. Hey, if there's any questions, put a queue in. I'll try my best to catch them as we're going through these. I'll try to keep scrolling over here to the live chat. So anyway, yeah, interesting few days there. 27th. Don't know what they did on the 28th. I guess they decided to go after Brendan again, and then went after him at the school on the 1st and all that. So anyway, let's move on. DCI report 250, and this is a transfer of audio tapes for enhancement duplication. Oh, something that's going to tick me off. And of course, it goes to our senior field guy at the whatever computer crime. I don't know. ICAC. I don't know what that sounds. I don't know what that acronym means. But anyway, Flessert is one of these senior techs. He does a lot of these transfers. I'm not going to say he did every one of them, but he did the majority of them. So let's take a look, quick read this one. Friday, March 3rd, 2006, Bassminder received from Wiegert of Queso 2 Maxell C60 audio cassette tapes. These tapes were utilized to record an interview of Brendan Dassey, which occurred between Dassey, Fassbender, and Wiegert on February 27th at the Mishcot High School. The cassette tapes were being transferred for the purpose of submitting them to electronics technician Larry Flessert for enhancement and duplication. The tapes were designated by Calumet County Sheriff's Department as evidence tags 7841 and 42. Fassbender subsequently assigned that property tag and D2609-1 of the 2 audio cassette tapes. And I just, by the way, for anyone, when we get the new DCI reports online, many of these reports that I went through, I've tried to title these if it's got a DCI tag number like this property receipt. I've tried to tag them with that. So for anyone that's really digging in, hopefully it's helpful. Anyway, on March 6th, 2006, Bassminder transferred the audio cassette tapes to Larry Flessert of the DCI Madison office in Madison. Flessert assigned property receipt indicating receipt of the cassette tapes. On March 13th, 2006, Flessert transferred the audio cassette tapes back to Fassbender at the DCI Madison office. Flessert advised that he had enhanced the audio and transferred the contents of both tapes to DVD. He advised that these were both an original non-enhanced copy and enhanced copy of the DVD on the DVD. Flessert provided Fassbender with 4 DVD copies. Flessert maintained the original DVD containing the enhanced audio. And it's like I've said all along, I feel positive in every one of these that they transferred, they kept a master copy so they wouldn't have to go through the process again of playing a tape and doing the conversion. It's stupid. Why would they do that? Anyway, Flessert signed property tag D2609 indicating the release audio cassette tapes back to Fassbender. On March 14, Fassbender transferred the cassette tapes to Wiegert. Wiegert signed the property receipt indicating receipt of the tapes. Fassbender also provided Wiegert with one of the DVD copies. Fassbender gave 2 of the DVD copies to the Calumet County District Attorney's Office, so Kratz got 2 of them. A copy of the property receipt will be submitted to the DCIR. They didn't attach it to here, and they didn't attach the ledger either. They were very selective in a lot of this because there is a ledger entry for those audio tapes that recording on the 27th. I don't know why they didn't attach it, but they didn't.
Now, are these, or do we think that these came from Fox Hills?
No, that was at the school. When they went to interview Brendan on the morning of the 27th at Mishcot High School, that tape was original is awful. It's not as bad as the Barb interview on the 9th, but it's pretty bad. I don't know what Wiegert used, or if he had it shoved in his pocket or what, but it's pretty bad. So that they had Plusher enhance it, and both of these are in Kratz discovery email. So nonetheless, yeah, they were at the high school. It's strange that Wiegert's recorder wouldn't work or worked at the high school, but they couldn't get a recorder to work at Fox Hills. That's so weird. How about that?
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, there's Scooby. What does Sapper say here? They interviewed Brendan at the school, and they realized what they had. They had a blank slate that they could manipulate and say whatever needed him to say. That's exactly right. Completely agree, Sapper. Hey, there's Rhonda SD. Hey, Rhonda across the pond. Jay from across the pond. Any Brewers fan? Got several. Yeah, it's troubling though, Sapper. With how they handled that afternoon, the steps that they took. It's really troubling to me. A lot of people don't find issue with it, but I do. I just think about any police department that, I get, cops got to investigate, but to, literally take a family. Certainly Bobby lived at home too, and, Brian was in and out, but to take those three, Brennan and Blaine, to being minors, to a hotel for the night over this trumped up safety concern, which was a complete lie, and so they could really basically have their way. It was an isolation to me. It was like I said, it was an abduction with intentional. I'm not saying that Fassbender and Lewis and knew that they were going to be coming back later that evening, but it's almost like they did, and they didn't want to show up, at Barb's residence at 11 o'clock at night to ask Brendan questions, because then that would have really drawn a lot of attention to them.
Well, didn't they put Stephen on suicide watch too?
Well, at the end of February they did. I think that ended. I can't remember how long he was on that suicide watch, which was just all another crazy thing. Hey, there's Becca.
Hey, Becca.
Happy holidays to you too. Happy holidays. Okay. 3 Raz, what date did Barb and Scott get married?
They got divorced when Brendan was interviewed. She divorced the one before him. Her divorce was final. Remember, because that's why they were able to interview him the first time without her.
Yeah, they didn't get married until sometime in early February or March of 2007, as I recall.
Yeah.
Somewhere around in there. I don't remember the exact date, 3 Raz, but it was sometime early in 2007. So, some way, let's move on. 251, signing of the amended criminal complaint on Stephen Avery. This says that the current date was on 3/7. The report dates 3/8. Fassbender doesn't look like he has a backup. So they've added charges. And of course, we know they ended up having to remove several of those charges right before trial. But these charges rode for almost a year. 10 and a half months, I guess it is. So anyway,
which made great talking points for the media.
Oh, absolutely it did. Anyway, we know what those are. We've been through them before. Interview of Blaine. This is like probably the third. I'd have to count them. I haven't. They interviewed Blaine a bunch of times though. Interview of Blaine on 2/27, and Strauss. This is done by Strauss and Steer of
What does
Calumet.
exempt mean, I wonder?
That means he was a minor. And virtually all these in the new reports, except for Brendan and Blaine, they'll say exempt and it'll be redacted, except for Brendan and Blaine. I can't think of any others that are not redacted. I don't know why. I'd have to look at the. Hold on here. 252. Let's see what we can see here. Let me pull this up. 252. DCI Reports. If we have the original version. 252. Okay, this is the version we had, and the person that is redacted is it. Let's compare here because now I'm curious. Why is this Jason Cresco redacted? I know who that is. Who is that? Is that ringing any bells, Christina?
No, not without seeing how he's mentioned.
And we'd have to read it. Maybe we can scan it right quick and see here if we can see anything. Maybe it's a friend of Blaine's. I'm not going to read.
Oh, it might be right there. That might be who he went trick or treating with.
No, that's not his name. I don't think. Or maybe it is.
Let's see. Jason.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yep. Blaine estimated that he and Cresco went trick-or-treating until approximately 8:30 p.m. After that, Blaine stayed at Graco's and watched wrestling on TV. Yeah, he didn't get back. He didn't get home at 11:30. He's completely wrong about that. He's remembering that completely wrong. Because that boy's mom brought Blaine home 8:15, 8:30. He may have watched wrestling at home, but it certainly wasn't. It certainly wasn't there. The school night. There's no way. He went home, so he got that completely wrong. Anyway, so that's who that kid is. Like I said, I'm not going to read this entire thing. I think it's 3 or 4 pages.
Do we have the audio of this?
I don't think so.
No, because I would be surprised if he actually said that. I have a feeling they're being very liberal with.
Well, it's Deb Strauss.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm sure she made an audio.
Yeah, I believe she audio recorded it, and of course it's not listed. But anyway, all right, skip back over here. Yeah, Danny Bruce fan. It just depends on the where you're from, and I mean a lot of times we would trick or treat till.
And
a lot of people had their light. Yeah, I mean a lot of people had their light on. The front porch light that was typically the indicator that they were still open for business, as it were.
We are done. Because I mean it was dark by 5, and we would be done by 7:30, 8 o'clock at the latest. Now I can understand Blaine being confused about the time because of the time change just occurring. So it might have felt like 8 to him, but by the clock, it was only 7.
Well, this is 4 months later too.
Mm.
4 months after the fact.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get something, a specific detail wrong.
And we don't know if she said, did you do this at this time, or if he was providing the information without her prompting him.
That's true. We don't know. And I do believe she audio recorded it, and that there's a copy of it. Now, would they release it? I have no idea. But 3Raz has another question, if we can go ahead and knock out. Is it true that a partner is not obliged to testify against the spouse in court? Yeah, in most states that's true, but they can. It doesn't mean that they have to. They have a choice. If they choose not to, then it can't be held against them. That's true, I think, in virtually every state. Yep. I'm trying to see. Right, Safford got it. Cannot be compelled. That's right. Can't make them do it. They choose not to. All right. Let's move on. 253, enhancement of audio tapes. Larry Fletcher. Larry's a busy guy.
Deja vu.
Yeah. On March 6, 2006, senior electronics technician Fletcher received 2 C60 tapes from Fassbender. These tapes were cataloged on DCI 37 property as D2609. Fassbender asked that the tapes be enhanced as portions of their content. Okay, I think this is basically the same thing. This is the same tapes as Fassbender talked about in his other report. So this is Fletcher's report. Okay, fair enough. 254. This was on March 7th, records exam, Brendan Dassey attendance records. So they went to the school, got his attendance records, and they did talk to several people at the school. This is Fassbender and Wiegert. I'm not going to read through all this. I don't think we're going to get anything more out of it than what we already know. They did this on March 7th. They talked to, who'd they talk to here? Yeah, interviews for school counselors. Also met with the superintendent, Steve Cromwell, and the attorney for Mishkot School System, attorney Mary Gerbig. Anyway, I think there's some attendance records attached. Yeah, there are. Which, of course, we didn't have these before, but, we're not going to get anything from them. Anyway, let's scroll through that. 255, evidence seizure, the auto creeper, March 7th. And I think this is probably when they went and seized Barb's. On March 7th, at approximately 5:41 p.m., Fassbender and Wiegert of Queso seized an automobile creeper from Barb Yonda's garage. And prior to seizing the creeper, Wiegert had telephoned Yonda at approximately 5:27 p.m. and asked if she would meet with Wiegert and Fassbender at her residence. Wiegert told Yonda that they wanted to request permission to look in the garage for some additional items, and this was based on information that Brennan had previously provided. I just don't remember Brennan saying anything about that creeper in their garage. Maybe I just missed it. I think we talked about this too.
Not unless he said something at Fox Hills.
Well, if he did, I don't think it's in that report, whatever report that is. I don't. I'm almost positive. I don't remember it, but maybe he did. That'd be a little silly to me. Why would they go to Barb's house to get a creeper when Avery had one?
Because Avery's didn't work. It didn't.
Yeah.
It did. Yes. Well, no. You and I disagree on this. We agree to disagree. I think they were hopeful that Brendan's creeper would be a larger specimen capable of being a prop for the narrative they had him confess to
Well, that's
being
possible.
done.
I mean, we got a photo of the one in Avery's garage. It's pretty big as creepers go. I mean, I've had a few different ones over the years ago. And I think the first one that got my hands on, it was old and pretty used, but for my purposes, it worked okay. But it was small. Basically, it would fit my back.
Yep.
And I'm not a big, well, I'm bigger now, but I was not a really big guy. So it gave me access to get up under my various vehicles to change the oil and the filter, and that's really about all I could do with it. I mean, in a crunch, I guess if I had to do something like I could, but it basically was the size of my back. It was pretty small.
If you've ever had the occasion to be around or assist someone who does not have okay, so either a person who's deceased, a person who's unconscious, or a person who does not have feeling of their lower extremities. All right, if you've ever tried to assist them, it is, if you do not have something to support that weight in its entirety, trying to maneuver them is impossible unless you have the entirety of the body on a flat surface.
Well,
Because
like a gurney.
right, and a creeper is not a gurney. So
No, not at
and
all.
so the narrative that they had Brendan claim occurred was that they transported a deceased or unconscious Teresa on a creeper. And that creeper is not long enough for her entirety of her body to be at a level plane. So just envision trying to take her from the house. Where did they claim? I think they said they toted her from the house without a creeper, right? So the creeper was utilized from the garage to the RAV and the RAV to the garage, or the garage
No,
to the pit.
I think one of the stories was that Brendan told that they rolled her on the creeper from the garage to the burn pit, but then he
Okay,
changed it.
now think about that, because you've used a creeper. They don't roll.
I know, not on grass.
Not on, yeah. Like, it's just, and that's why he said that, because he knew it wasn't, it was impossible. And so somebody would have to catch that it couldn't be done.
Here, let me
Right?
show you. Let me show you something here, so you can understand what I'm saying about Avery's creeper, and it'll help you. Let me remove that. Go ahead though. Go ahead, keep on talking.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking about trying to roll on a dirt surface. So funny story. Me and my niece went shopping at a thrift store the other day, and she tried to push the buggy out of the paved part of the parking lot into the dirt. And as soon as we hit the dirt, the wheels stopped moving. All right.
Oh yeah.
And that's how it is with creepers. They're not made. Yeah, that's not long. Count how many, what's behind it, a ladder? That is a ladder. Zoom back out.
Yeah, it's a step ladder.
Yeah, how many steps? Because that compressor is only about 18 inches to 20. So 1, 2, that's third rung. So not quite 3 feet.
As creepers go, that's a pretty good size creeper.
And I'm not saying it isn't, but what I'm saying is that's the length of her legs, maybe. And
well, I mean, if you could probably get, the body and the torso and probably the butt, but then now you're going to have problems with legs and arms
that's
flailing
right. That's right. Well, you can throw the arms on top, but what are you going to do unless you break her back and break her hips and then
here's the bigger problem right there.
Strings.
That's the bigger problem. Those don't roll on dirt and grass.
And you still don't have you still got the legs to deal with.
That's right.
You either got the legs on it, and if someone's unconscious or deceased, you can't sit them up.
Yep,
the body don't work that way.
Short of tying somebody up into like a package.
Yeah, and he didn't, and that's not part of the narrative.
No, not at all. No, it's not. So anyway,
and so I think that's why they're looking, because these guys are not mechanics. So they heard creeper, they're probably thinking gurney, long enough to put a body on. Because they're thinking he wouldn't say it unless it could be done.
I mean, there are large type creepers, guys that work on large equipment. What I mean large equipment, I mean like the D10, D10 Caterpillar, these large
commercial
earth moving. That's right. Exactly right. So it's still interesting though that I just don't remember them going or anything. Brendan saying anything about having anything to do with going to Barb's to get a creeper. I just don't remember that at all.
No, because he didn't. But they were I think what it was is somebody slipped up and said, there's a creeper at Barb's, and they were hoping it was bigger than the one at Stevens, and they could bring it into court as a prop.
Well, maybe. Yeah, I guess that's another possibility as well. Just a second here. Anyway, this is the Queso ledger entry. Barb's was red and black apparently, and Avery's was black. That was the difference. I don't think we have a photo of the one at Barb's. If we do, I don't remember it. Somebody out there remembers it and can tell me which packet of photos are in. I could try to find it, but the one at Barb's is black and red, and it was
if we have a photo, it would probably be in the ones where we have the deer. Remember, there's like that's very limited digital images of Barb's garage. I can't remember who found that.
I actually think those might have came from Ma'am that we don't have copies of.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure, but I think that those are screen grabs from Making a Murderer. Anyway, let's move on. 256. Jumping back in time, February 24. Receipt exhibit of Dr. Simley's report. Of course, Simley was a forensic. I don't know if he's an. I don't think. Maybe he's a odontologist. I don't remember. Anyway, on Friday, February 24th, 2006, Bassbender received in the mail a report from Dr. Simley. He gives some personal information. This report pertains to Dr. Simley's examination and analysis of pieces of charged dental remains forwarded to him as a result of the investigation. And then electronically attached is the report. Again, we're not going to read through all this because it's a few pages long, and we already know what it says anyway. We'll read this top part: forensic dental examination of submitted evidence in comparison to the dental records of Teresa Halbach, which we know in court he would not testify 100% identification to Teresa. He wouldn't do it because he knew that he couldn't. Yet they propped him up there anyway. I don't like that at all, because what it does, it leads the jury to think, well, that may be her, So you start questioning it when it's not a match. 100%, this was definitely Teresa. But it's a might be, because this guy glued 3 broken pieces of tooth fragment together to create this one partial tooth. He super glued it together. That's all they had. So he already had a copy of her dental records that got forwarded to him. So he had a map to go by. To me, it's just wrong on every level. Circumstance for evidence to fit the crime when you already know what you're alleging happened. So I don't know how that's fair at all. I just don't. Anyway, this is Assembly's report. Welcome to read through it. I think we already had a copy of this. I'm almost positive we did. Like I said, it's quite lengthy. That's the reason I'm choosing not to read through it. We'd be here half the night. It's pretty small type, pretty full. Anyway, let's move on. 257. We're jumping back forward in time. We're back up to March 7th again. Report dates March 9th. Fassbender. Associate of suspect exempt. Let's see if we have this one. What did I say this was? 257. Okay, let's see if we have that one on hand. Let me get rid of this one. 257. I don't have it. Of course not. 255, 256, and jumps to 258. Okay, so we're not going to know who that one is. Tuesday, March 7th, approximately 11:50 a.m., Fassbender and Wiegert interviewed Amber. Oh, okay. This is at the school. Okay. Yeah, okay. We can read through some of this because we didn't have it previously. Let me blow this up a little bit, make it a little easier for people to see that need new bionic eyes like I do. The interview took place in a conference room within the district office of the Mishcot school system in Mishcot. The interview had been arranged with Mishcot Superintendent Steve Cromwell, an attorney for the Mishcot school system. Both Cromwell and attorney Gerbig were present during the interview. Fassbender and Wiegert introduced themselves to Fox Brewer. The business cards had previously been presented to Cromwell and attorney Gerbig. Fox Brewer was asked about comments Brendan Dassey may have made about suicide. Fox Brewer advised, and this is another, anyway, Fox Brewer advised that on January 31, a student by the name of, we don't know, redacted, had gone to the school office and was upset. And blank stated that he overheard that Brendan was talking about a gun and a game, something along the lines of Russian roulette type deal. Fox Brewer believed this happened in the 8th hour and that redacted came down during that hour. Fox Brewer advised Brendan was apparently talking to another student by the name of redacted. Fox Brewer said that redacted spoke with Debbie Knox the high school principal. Foxborough advised that Knox spoke with Brendan. Brendan's mother, Brendan's grandmother, picked him up from school that day. Foxborough advised she was asked to speak with Brendan on the following day, February 1st, January 6th, and to follow up with Yonda. Foxborough advised that Yonda had told her that she had been worried about Brendan and also stated that Brendan was now spending more time outside of the house. Yonda advised that Brendan used to be more of a homebody and that Stephen Avery was Brendan's favorite uncle. Foxborough advised that she asked Brendan about the comments he had made hurting himself. Foxborough said that Brendan said he and his cousin were joking around about military games and such. Foxborough said she spoke with Brendan about it being serious and Brendan seemed fine. Foxborough commented that getting Brendan to talk is like pulling teeth. Foxborough stated that trying to get a full sentence out of Brendan is difficult. Yeah, no shit. Foxborough said she did follow up meetings with Brendan 2 or 3 more times and everything seemed better. Foxborough advised that the next meeting with Brendan was to have been last Wednesday, but she did not have a chance to meet with him as he went with Fassbender and Wiegert that day. Yeah, they came and got him. Foxborough was asked if she spoke with Brendan's friends, and she said no. Foxborough was asked if she knew Marie Avery, and she said yes. Foxborough that Marie was an officer for the SAD club. Foxborough remembered that Marie had stated that she was sick of talking to the police and the media. I bet she was. Anyway, I got out of it what I wanted to get about Brendan. It goes into some more stuff. Foxborough was asked if Brendan mentioned anything about Stephen Avery case, and she advised no. Fox was asked about Brendan's learning capabilities, and she advised that Brendan does have some learning disability. So they knew.
Oh.
They knew before this, though. I'm
Isn't
sure
that interesting?
Yeah, I'm
So
sure
they asked about the notes. They asked if she took notes during her meetings with students. She said not during the meeting, but afterward. They looked at the notes, determined there was nothing relevant. I find that interesting.
Right. It was a nothing. It was a nothing meeting.
Well, what I find interesting is if you looked at them, then you should attach them because what you find relevant. So who are you to determine? How do you know something's relevant when you're only allowing yourself to be the filter? I mean, what do we talk about? Like echo chambers, right? So it's always good because you may miss something just in the moment. Like, why not make a copy of it? Stick it to the file.
One would think, but I'm sure that they're going to say because it's school stuff, there's a privacy thing. And I don't know that for sure. I'm gonna bet that's their excuse though. But I agree with you. The notes should have been attached. Her notes.
What that says to me is it probably didn't benefit the narrative.
Probably not.
But it probably could have benefited the truth.
Yeah. There's a question here I missed. I apologize, Jay. You said, what is a creeper? A creeper is a small little, it's just got small rollers. I don't know if you saw the photo I put up of Steven's creeper, but it's got small little rollers on the bottom of it. Generally, a lot of times they're just like a round ball, but a lot of them have like a rubber ring around them. They're made to be laid on your back, or maybe even side, but mainly on your back to roll up, and you can lay on it, roll up under a car without having to lay on a concrete floor. It's just easier. You can use your feet to slide in and out, grab tools or parts.
And it's probably, what would you say, Jax, 2 to 4 inches above the floor. You're not very high up because you're still able to get under the vehicle.
Yeah, depending on the size of the wheels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
four would be
pushing it.
really really, yeah, it really would. Usually a couple, 2 or 3 inches
Yeah,
off the ground, and that's it.
they're
Allows,
very low.
very low.
And
Basically, you lay on it.
yeah, I think that is probably what Fassbender and Wiegert didn't were unfamiliar with, was how low to the ground they were. I think they were envisioning something different. Because, like, so how would you utilize a creeper to move a body on a salvage yard? You would have to put the creeper on something on something else. Lay the body on the creeper, like on the top of a wheelbarrow, right?
Well, a wheelbarrow would be actually more
Would work
useful than a
better.
creeper.
That's
Yeah.
right. Or because, like, you couldn't put a creeper on a dolly. I mean, I guess you could. You could. It's possible. I
Yep,
have
that would
I
be.
have both, so I'm trying
Yeah,
to think.
that would be kind of ridiculous, though.
You'd still have to bungee strap it.
You would.
Yep. Right. Or tie it down.
I agree.
And I don't think they had the what's it called, like the actual experience of, because you can see something on TV, but until you have actual muscle memory and experience and of using these items, you can't for sure judge whether a story is believable or not. You can only go by what you know. And I don't think Wiegert and Fassbender had the memory to, what's the word I'm looking for, Jax? Like, they'd never had the actual experience of working with that item to know how unbelievable this story was.
Well, it comes across that way. I'm not really sure what their personal experience is if they work on cars to that capacity. And a lot of people don't. They just pick their favorite garage, go have their oil changed, and so forth and so on, and they don't ever fool with the car. That a lot of people do, but I'm not really sure about Fassbender and Wiegert. I would think that they would, even if they didn't work on cars, they would understand that story was just ridiculous, just completely ridiculous. It was to me the first time I read it. I'm like, well, you're not going to take a creeper across the yard. It's not going to work. It's just not. So anyway, all right, let's move on. 258. This is on moving forward in time.
I talked to, or I saw a guy. I didn't speak to him. There was a guy who's 40 years old who has not driven a car in 20 years. So like, if people are like true city folk, where they're doing trains and subways and taxis and Uber and all of that, or they drive for work, and they just, and their life doesn't include those kinds of things, they don't know.
No, I have no idea. It's not part of their life experience.
Nope, it really isn't.
Okay, 258. Here we are, March 14th. Transfer of evidence to the crime lab. Evidence collected. Looks like it. 3 different spots, 3 different locations at the Avery salvage yard. Looks like we got some swabs, red substance and debris pile, hair, knives, shell casings, fragment and bullet fragments, handcuffs, irons, leg irons, work gloves,
Fingerprints.
yeah, palm prints for Brendan. So we kind of know what this stuff is. We've got this report. We've had this one, so there's nothing new here. Basically, talking about transferring this evidence to the crime lab for examination. And then here's, like I said, here's they've got it attached. This one is the queso ledgers.
No, what phone is that?
Right
there. Where'd I see it? Number 6.
Unit of phone and charger, silver and black, nightstand, east side of the bed, south bedroom.
Brown gun rack. That must be Steven's room.
Yeah. I thought they'd already collected the clock
Black
radio.
colored hanger. Power horn.
Yeah,
green colored hula. Oh no, it was a hula skirt.
Yeah, that was Jody's.
Yeah, so this is Steven's bedroom.
Hey, and for anyone that doesn't know out there, the ledgers, if you look up right here at the bottom corner, these ledgers are different. It's not just, these are all not just, they're all ledgers and they're attached together, but these ledgers all have different ledger numbers. They're not all, like this one's 642, it looks like. That's a pretty bad copy, but this is ledger number Z. That's right, but not all these are the same. They're a bunch of different ledger numbers. Now this one's the same because it's all well. These were all collected at the same time, so they should be the same. Unless we move over to, let's see here. Yeah, see this one's the same as well. Yeah, and that's why they're numbered like that, because they will change.
Okay, so what you're saying is like they'll keep one ledger for one collection area, and then so like
That's
his
right.
bedroom will have one, but his garage will have another.
That's right.
Okay, I did not notice that.
That's right. See, this one's 641.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones. You just have to, I've been suspicious for forever that we don't have all the ledgers. They say we do, but I'm not sure that I believe it. This one says something 0640. And now we're going to get into this is a transmittal of evidence form. It's going to look at everything topped out. This is their copy that they keep. And then I think this is probably Jeremy Hawkins' report, probably asking for various things to be done. Probably DNA, I'm going to guess. He's got everything listed there. Enclosed, please find one plastic bag containing debris pile. This plastic bag in debris pile is bearing tag number 8613. I'm requesting that the 6 individually packaged brass shell casings with the various tags to be tested to find out if the brass shell casings were used in the Glenfield Model 60 22 caliber rifle. Got the serial number bearing tag number 647 that the state crime lab already has. I'm requesting that 2 individually packaged bullet fragments with tag numbers 8607 and 23 be tested. Find out if the bullet fragments were used in the Glenfield Model 60. I would also like that the bullet fragments be tested to see if there's any, I'm going to guess that says DNA on the bullet fragments. I don't know if 8607 and 8623, maybe that is items FK and FL. I think maybe it is. Hair fiber, looking for DNA. He made several requests of various ones. See, this one doesn't have DNA. Go ahead.
I find it interesting they hand wrote Brendan's name in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting.
What's the date on that? Go back up.
Oops. This fax is dated March 16th. Let me roll back up here.
Why wouldn't you already know he should be looked at?
March 16th. There in the middle at the top.
So 2 weeks after you arrested him for this stuff, and he's still an afterthought?
Yep, apparently. Yep. And
That's
this is, of course,
fishy.
this is the crime lab. This is their ledger or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, moving on.
That's very fishy.
It is strange. 259, interview of Debbie Knox. This is another, I think we've got this one. Let me check here. I'm not going to swear to it. Some of these we didn't have. Yeah, we had this one. Yeah, I don't think there's anything in here that we didn't already know. So I'm not going to read it. Unless everybody just wants to read it. I think it's probably a few pages. Knox was asked to talk about Brendan's disability academics. Knox advised that she was aware that he had some learning disability, but does not know the specifics. Knox advised Brendan does struggle some academically and does go to special education classes where he gets extra assistance on some things. Knox was not aware of any disciplinary issues with Brendan and described him as a very quiet kid. Anyway, they knew. They knew before this that he was, good kid, but had issues, learning issues. And then this one here is DCI Report 260 with Susan Brandt. She's a counselor. We had this one too, I'm sure. Yeah, we had this one. So there's not going to be anything new here. Several other children clearly mentioned here they're exempt. We can look at that. This is the original. Yeah, it's got some kids in here that they've exempted out. I'm sure there are other students. So anyway, let's move on. And they did all these, I think, pretty much on the same day on March 7th. So, and it gives also present during the interview with Steve Cromwell, the superintendent, and attorney, school district attorney Gerbig. Brent provided address and phone numbers and so forth. Investigator Wiggett told Brent why investigators were there. Brent stated she remembered conversations with redacted. And again, there's nothing we're going to get from this. We've had this one, so there's nothing here that we're going to glean from it. I think it's probably a couple of 2 or 3 pages. Brent was here. I remember this. Brent said Brendan thought the suicide came up when talking to Bumgardner about what to do, And Brendan, he said they're goofing around. It was nothing. Yeah, I think that's it. 261. Interview with Karen Baumgartner, the guidance counselor. We had this one as well. Yep. Some more children that were redacted. I'm sure that were mentioned in here. Again, this is on March 7th, so we're just going to learn more about about what they already knew, that Brendan was disabled, had learning disabilities, and was a slow kid. This is kind of a more lengthy interview, about 5 or 6 pages. Yeah. And I think there might be, I don't remember who this note's from. Oh, this is from Kayla.
Mm-hmm.
They attached this note.
Yeah, of course. Here, let's read the note.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think it starts here. It said Steve told.
This is Baumgartner's note of what Kayla said, right?
Yep.
Okay. So here, go ahead. You can read it.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
So Kayla said Steve told Brendan he needed help to take care of a body. Blood coming up from cement floor. Blood on his door handle. That's interesting. Pictures of, I'm guessing, Teresa. Is that what we're going?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. Letters he wrote to his ex-wife. We know about those. Those were in Mam. Blank. That's kind of short for as big as her writing is to be Brendan. So it's probably Kayla. Did not want to testify. Stephen pulling cousin over.
Sandra Moore's incident. Car with gun.
Car with a gun. Girlfriend in jail wouldn't comment on whether Stephen pushed her around, choked her. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because if she had witnessed Stephen abusing Jody, and she was like being truthful about this whole account instead,
I don't think she was there.
Well,
I don't think she was present. I'm sure she heard it from Earl and Candy.
So what I'm thinking is this whole narrative was created by Kayla to try and help Brendan, or her mom and dad said, you've got to get in there and get, them. I don't know. And they didn't mention what she should say when it comes to Stephen abusing Jody. So she was sticking to what she was supposed to do. She had a goal. This is what I got to say. This is how I got to say it.
Oh, I feel positive. This is just an opinion. It's not fact, but my opinion is this was forced on her by her mom, Candy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel strongly about that.
And the reason I think so too, and I also, is because she had never witnessed. I know, like towards the end in Jody's interviews, Stephen became a very abusive, all the time abusive guy. But I think that their relationship was dysfunctional, and because she was an alcoholic and he did 20 years in prison wrongfully. So they're both, dealing with all of that,
They got damage and baggage.
That's right. And when you bring in that much damage and you haven't had therapy to recognize, that
and work it out.
And that's right. And you don't want to do things differently. You're going to continue to do, make the same mistakes. So that being said, Kayla had never witnessed violence, and Candy did not say, you need to say you witnessed Stephen abusing Jody. So Kayla chose not to add to what she was supposed to say by making, because she didn't have a problem saying Stephen wrote letters to what's-her-face. She didn't have a problem saying that Stephen had ran Sandra Morris off the road, but she wouldn't say she had seen Stephen abuse
Jody. And didn't want to testify.
And didn't want to testify. Isn't that interesting?
I'm not sure why she would even say that. Here we are. This is in earlier in 2006. So it's really strange.
Yep. Brendan had told that she would die like Teresa did someday. Huh?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a long name. Whoever it was, he supposedly told.
Yep.
Blank liked Blaine. Oh, that has, yeah. So Kayla liked Blaine. She thinks Brendan liked her and thinks he was just kind of mad and stuff. Oh, no, that might be the girl that Brendan dated
Emily.
for a day. Emily liked Blaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. What else do we have? Oh, that's it. That's the end of it.
That's it. So that's just a bunch of nonsense.
Well, like I said, I think it was all put up by enforced on Kayla. And I'm not sure if you've seen the clip, but there's a clip that came from Convicting a Murder where Kayla said that when Uyghur and Fassbender came and questioned her, all they did was call her a liar, and everything she would tell them, they would say you're lying. I'd like to have a copy of that interview because it should have been recorded.
Yep.
So anyway, I wanted to say hello to. It looks like we have Mary Kopp, true crime fangirl. There's Jazzy Nazzy, Colette, and Yoga for the Ages. There's Andy B. He's in there doing stuff. Yeah, I agree, Sappercop. I think Christina does too. Something Brendan would never say. I completely. Yeah. Wasn't capable of thinking that way. I agree with that too. I just always had this opinion after I really got into the case that this was all put up by Candy on Kayla. She was able to manipulate her. Thank God she got up on the stand and did the right thing. Anyway, this is another pretty lengthy, if I'm remembering it right, I say pretty lengthy, several pages anyway. It was subpoena to MSN Hotmail. This was on the 20th, March the 20th, 2006.
This is strange.
Well, yeah, it is. And actually, there was another one. I'm pretty sure it's a different case number that they did. It's at the end of this big report, if I'm thinking right. They did a subpoena that was filed in a different court. I don't know if this is the one or not. Maybe I'm confused.
I'm thinking
we got
what this is, but
yeah,
you might
some
be
of these.
Right. It's a different one.
Yeah, there's some of these that we didn't have before. Complaint, Earl Avery, and we got other subjects of interest. It's got the screen name blanked out. And this one here, 262, I don't think we had this one. I'm going to check here. Yeah, we did have it. Let's see what of it we've got. Okay. Gage. These are screen names. Gage ILJ the World. Gage ILJ and Jason ILV. I miss you, Randall. Come home. Stephen Avery. I got MSN privileges. These are all screen names. Interesting. Anyway, this is a subpoena to Hotmail, and it got a return in this conversation. And I'm sure in the report, the 2024 report, these usernames are redacted out. We'll see it here in a minute. This is the original report that we already had. On March 16th, 2006, Midtham spoke with Fassbender and learned that Fassbender had been contacted by Earl and Candy. Regarding the above chat, that Avery's daughter Kayla had encountered the chat while on MSN Messenger. She noted that Earl is Stephen Avery's brother. Stephen Avery has been arrested for the murder of Teresa Halbach. Earl and Candy Avery were requesting that Fassbender try to determine who was responsible for the contents of the MSN chat. You know, here's the thing. Why didn't they, if they were trying to find out, why didn't they also go ahead and take Earl and Candy's computer? I've never understood that. Never understood that. On Friday, March 17th, Midtham requested and received a subpoena for MSN Hotmail. The subpoena was signed by the Honorable William W. Gabler, Senior Circuit Court Judge for Eau Claire. This is the one. Now, Eau Claire County is almost the Minnesota. It's on the Minnesota border. That's where that county's at. Why would they go all the way across the state to have this signed? Somebody please help me understand that.
Yeah.
Were they trying to hide? Were they trying to hide the fact that they had filed this there? I don't. You know, I'd have to go look and see which report this actually ended, where this ended up being in the when it was actually turned in.
It was after, or Stephen was in jail, so
that's right.
No matter when it occurred, Stephen wasn't responsible for it.
Well, let's see here. I'm going to go back up here just to satisfy my curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is DCI Report 262. Okay.
What's the date?
It says 320 was the. It says approved. Yeah, approved date is 320. They don't have the actual occurrence date. Maybe it's down here. Records originality date 314.
Mm-hmm.
And this says March 9th. So 39. I don't know where I've got it listed at.
Obtain the following excerpt. Here, scroll down just a wee bit. All right, so that's the copy of the conversation. And do they know when it occurred? Let's see. Go down a wee bit further. Hush, right? Go way down. On Thursday, 3/16.
Yeah, they're not giving it. It doesn't look like they're giving an actual date of the conversation.
So either they know it happened after Stephen was arrested and they didn't want to put the date because they knew that it wasn't going to be helpful. I love you, Randall. Please come home. What an interesting screen name.
It is. That's so strange. Don't know who that is either. I'm gonna guess this Jason is. Well, they're probably all school friends, but I don't know. Anyway, I just think. I mean, the whole thing is strange. I think it was, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not entirely sure that one of these screen names wasn't Candy. I've always believed that.
Or the entire thing wasn't made up by them.
Well, maybe. Anyway, it's got a little bit more here. But again, this was all done through Eau Claire County, and I just have a real problem with that. I guess I need to go through and see this DCI report and when it was actually turned over by Kratz to Beauty and String, or even Lowy. But no, it wouldn't have been Lowy. Beauty and String had been, I believe, because it was on the case by then. Yeah. I have to look at that and see. I don't know. Maybe that's something I'll fool around and do later tonight. Because I'm curious, because it bothers me that they would go clear across the state to file for a warrant. Why would they do that? They're filing everything through Manitowoc. They have been. Literally all the search warrants went through Manitowoc for Fox or Willis to sign off on. So, but not this one. Anyway, let's get back over here to where we're at. As you can see, the new report has all these screen names redacted. It makes it really makes one of these reports virtually almost useless. Here's the subpoena. It was filled out to Hotmail. We didn't have a copy of this before. No, this was attached. And it was ordered on 17th day of March, 2006. And this is the order itself.
Which is a holiday.
Is it?
Isn't that St. Patty's Day?
Oh, I don't know.
March 17th, I think so.
I guess one looks like one not celebrated there in Wisconsin. Here's the affidavit for the subpoena. And this was done by Christine Midton. She's not even an agent. She's an office operations assistant. But I guess she's a sworn. I don't know how that works. Regardless, she's the one that filled out the thing here. Anyway, I'm not going to read through all that. 263. Where's this bring us here? We're up to. Okay. This is from 11/8. So we're really jumping back for time warping. Monitoring of telephone calls by Fassbender. I actually think that. Well, I don't know. Let's look at this right quick. Fassbender received from Wiegert. Yeah, I think this is the one I requested before. I'm sure of it. Received from Wiegert of Calumet 2 CDs containing recorded telephone and visitation conversations of Jody Stokowski, Stephen Avery's girlfriend, while she was incarcerated in the Manitowoc County Jail. These telephone calls and/or visits occurred between 11/8 and 11/18, 2005. They were primarily telephone conversations that occurred between Stokowski and Dolores Avery, Chuck Avery, and Barbianda. The conversations on the evening of 11/8 were telephone conversations between Stokowski and Stephen Avery. Most of the content of the conversations contained dialogue pertaining to the disbelief regarding Stephen Avery's arrest and their thoughts that Stephen Avery was being set up. Fassbender made the following observations. I'm pretty sure this is one we had. 263. Let's see. I'm pretty sure we had this one. We did. So we're not going to read that one. You
Made
see
the
anything with,
following observations. What observations did he make?
well, I don't know. I don't remember. I've read it, but I don't.
You know what I mean? It's I'm reading that sentence and I'm taking that as a lead-in, and the narrative or the sentences following that one should be his observations made. Am I missing something?
Well, I don't think so, but um, it gives an opportunity. We've talked about these reports before, of the ability to, unless we have it, that's why we've been so eager over all these years in getting, these audios of visits, jail call, and so forth, as a comparison to what's written in a report. Because I can write anything in a report, and if you don't have the other that they're talking about to back it up, the report kind of stands. Doesn't mean you have to believe it, but that's why I want the report. I, I want the actual audio file or video file, whatever the case may be. I want to listen to it for myself and come to my own conclusions. I think that's the only real way you ever can get to the truth. Because
Yeah.
if an officer can be biased, and we've seen that.
Oh, yeah. And
This,
we need to have context.
yes, context is everything. This one talks about on November 12th, 2005, there was a visit. Chuck came to visit Stokowski at the jail, because you remember she was locked up. It lasted for 20 minutes and 55 seconds. During that conversation, Chuck talked about the conditions, the residences on Avery Road after the properties had been released by the law enforcement. So this was basically the day of.
Mm-hmm.
This is the day they got the property back. Chuck Avery commented that Stephen Avery had left on Monday, 10/31 at 11, and the next time Chuck saw him was Tuesday afternoon. Chuck Avery said Stephen stated he had to make some phone calls. There was also a conversation about the cut on Avery's finger, and that Stephen had done it at the shop on some cars. There was a discussion about how it's possible Stephen could get a deer hunting license register while being a felon, but he did. They gave it to him. Right, wrong, or indifferent, he had one. Anyway, yeah, we've got this report, so I'm not gonna read through all this. Sound like he's just going by what he heard during this visit between Chuck and Jody. Then there was a call from Stokowski to Dolores, lasted about 3 minutes, and then there was a call from Stokowski to Dolores. Middling a conversation between Stokowski and Avery. I guess we've got that call. I don't remember it specifically, but it doesn't mean anything. During said conversation, it was indicated that Avery wanted Candy and Chuck off Stokowski's visitors list. Okay. There were comments made by Dolores, such as they got him washed. They talked to Brendan. They got his mind brainwashed, just like Brendan. Now Brendan is shaking his shoulders. I don't know what that means. Then call on 11/14 from Stokowski to Chuck. I don't know that we have that. I'll have to look. Huh. 11/16. Yeah, I don't know if we have that call there. 11/14. That bothers me. We got some of the later calls, of course. Yeah, in January and February. I don't remember this one in November 2005. I'll have to look and see. November 14th. Anyway, he's got.
Go back up to 11:14. This is interesting.
What's that?
It says 11:14. There was a phone call from Stachowski to Chuck Avery.
Yep.
It lasted 14 minutes, 46 seconds. Stachowski indicated she believed she would be able to come home and clean the trailer the next day. She heard the media indicate someone had said Stachowski had said she had been beaten and choked out by Stephen Avery. Stachowski commented she would like to know who said that. There was also conversation about someone calling and asking about buying Yonda's van, and the individual had indicated he had seen it for sale on the internet. Avery said he had the individual's phone number.
That's interesting.
Uh-huh. That is interesting.
I wonder if. I'm not sure whether they've had it advertised on the internet, if that's actually true.
Or if Auto Trader may have had a web page that carried their ads from the magazine.
Yeah, but it wasn't in there yet. They just put it up
Or
on.
was it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's interesting.
Yep.
I'm
Because
trying to
that is another issue in this case is no one has been able to produce the Auto Trader magazine from the day those photos would have been included if she had indeed turned them in. We do not have that week's magazine, or I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's for the week.
Well, it would have been at the earliest. It would have been the following week, from October 31st.
Mm-hmm.
At the earliest. I'm not sure. I don't remember if Auto Trader came out as a weekly or every other week. Was it weekly or every other week?
I don't want to. I'm not sure either. I just know that has always been a weird thing, that those magazines are so easily found.
I don't know why Auto Trader should have had multiple copies of that.
Yet the one for that time frame to confirm or deny was not available.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I know that. I mean, I grew up in East Tennessee, and we used to have it was a every other week, and it was actually very helpful. I can't remember the name of the group. It wasn't Auto Trader, but it was some other automobile. It wasn't just automobiles either. There was farming equipment. There was basically anything people wanted to sell, because they had, and I mean, they had multiple categories. Anyway, this paper was free because they made their money, through that, because they got fees or whatever on the sale of various equipment. So that's
and
how
the advertising. Yeah,
that's right. So it came out every other weekend. It was actually most of the time many pages, because it covered like 5 or 6 counties. It was actually really interesting.
Yep. My dad loved those things.
Oh yeah, I used to pick one up every time a new copy come out because you're looking at cars or whatever. Anyway, this is just besides all this, this is just another indicator. They listen to every call that was made, not just Chuck. I mean, not just Steven, but Jody too.
Which is so bizarre.
Yeah. CD Mark, Stephen Avery, Jody phone call 11/8 evening. I'm sure we got those. So not too many calls, all things considered. It's got this report, and this gives the location um, where the call was originated from in the jail. We've got some of these records too that look kind of like this. They're not exactly, but they're very similar. Gives the date. Some of these are multiple calls in one date. Got some of them highlighted here in marker, which basically destroyed on this terrible copy. Can't hardly read anything. But they've got them highlighted over here, my Avery, et cetera, et cetera. There's a visit. You can see it. It's hard to see there. It's a visit, and it's got it scrubbed. It says something's marked out, and it says Barb. This was on 11/13. I can't hardly read that. Is it?
Which one?
It's right here in the middle.
Barb. 1900 HDMF Avery Owl. And then something about that call.
This is a visit.
Or that visit with Barb. I guess the reason it's written like that is they find it significant. They want it to stand out.
Well, I don't know if visits because of the way it is in their system, how this thing is done from Evercom. I'm sure this is something from Evercom. I don't know. I know that in the few text files that I got with some of these calls, visits were a little oddball as compared to a regular phone call. That there's a bunch of these listed here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't guess it's super important, but I just like to see the record. I don't know why it's terrible. Anyway, and we've got some more. This is definitely a whole lot better record. Stephen, Cell, Avery Auto, Home, Earl, Cell Barb. So it's got several of these listed here.
These these look like Excel spreadsheets created by somebody.
Yeah, visit. This one here. I mean, it's definitely topped out. A lot better format. Visit with Chuck on 11/12. I don't know Jody's parents. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever remember hearing that call. She was pretty estranged from her mom too. Here's another visit, but it doesn't really it doesn't say who the visit was from. And this is one from Dolores. They've got highlighted. More calls listed here. This is more similar to how the format that I get, but not exactly. This is a much better, neater version. More of them highlighted. That basically destroys it. It makes it very difficult to read them. This is the fun one. 11/17.
Home.
Ma Avery go between Stephen, I'm sure, and Jody. Put the phones up together. She did that several times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This looks like more like what I was. Well, there's a couple of them that I got that are kind of similar to this. Not exactly, but Anyway, let's move on. We'll do a couple more, then we're going to call it a night. I'm keeping everybody here all night. Subpoena for the response. Oh, this is the response, MSN mail. This was on, report date's on the 29th. We'll see if that's done any different down below. 264. I'm going to see if we had this one because I don't remember it. Says we had it, so okay. There are probably attachments that we didn't get because in the original ones we didn't have any attachments. 317. Yeah, this is the return. Senior, yeah, okay. And she's listing off some Hotmail, various Hotmail addresses. Gets the IP address, which has been redacted. We didn't have any of that, I'm sure. On Tuesday, 3:30, Midtham faxed letters to Comcast Cable Communications and NTT America requesting the preservation of records for the above-mentioned IP addresses. So this is the letter to Comcast highlighting those IP addresses. And then one letter off to NTT America. And then Microsoft, from MSN, number of records to response to the subpoena. Looks like it's 3 pages. Yeah, I'm not gonna read all this. It's pretty lengthy. I did read it before. Sorry?
Does it give a owner of the account?
If it does, I think it's redacted. Just like all these emails are redacted. I think all of them are redacted. Yeah, see, all this over here is redacted. First name, last name, login, everything's redacted.
Wisconsin. So whoever it was is from Wisconsin.
He even gives the zip code so he could drive it down even further.
Mm-hmm.
Gives the time zone, which is central. And then it gives the IP on the left and the date, and then the authorization, whatever that is to the right there. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the bottom is redacted. Unable to determine user. It gives this person. So they're saying that they. My point was above named business activity maintains the records of the business transactions which are made at or near the time of the occurrence on the matters set forth therein. Person with knowledge of those matters kept in number 2, kept in the course of regularly conducted business activity, and 3, made by the said business activity as a regular practice. Got a screen name here. Of course, I completely redacted that. We require the complete username or nickname of the information in order to search our records. The information provided is insufficient to determine the correct account name, either because the numerous records with the same common name and the site which the name was used is not specified, or we cannot find a corresponding account name. If you have further information which we can use to do a more detailed search, please provide blah, blah, blah. So they couldn't identify, couldn't get a name. And I don't remember if there was a resubmission or not. Subpoena, here's another one, 265 subpoena to Comcast. And this is again by that same person, Midtham. his IP address and an email. And there's Comcast Cable Communications. This is all that pertinent information is redacted. And then this is the subpoena that she wrote out, signed by the judge in an order. Another subpoena to Comcast in the order. And then this is the request for the subpoena and the affidavit coming up. Yeah, there it is. And then more the same that we already had. It's been all redacted. Fassbender says there Fassbender will include an email address in his contact with Special Agent Howell. Anyway, moving on. Affidavit was actually quite lengthy. So there's that. So, all right, we're going to stop here. We've been here a couple hours. Coming up on a couple hours. That's enough for one setting, one spell. Some interesting, and there's even some more interesting. I mean, they're interesting to me. Yeah, maybe they're not to everybody out there. I don't expect everybody to have this interest, but I'm really anal about a lot of these reports, as everybody can tell, because these reports are used. You know, they're used by various people. They help drive the case. They get presented to prosecutors. So, and they get presented in court too, or they're driven by what's in court. Hey, there's Mose. Looky there. Hope you're doing okay, Mose. Haven't seen you in a few weeks. Stephen, what's 3-4 says, was Stephen Schmidt checked to Auto Trader and evidence? I don't think so. Mm-mm. I don't remember seeing that, Christina.
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think that ever got presented.
I don't remember seeing it or a photo of it or a evidence receipt for it.
No.
So.
No. I think we would have seen that.
Yeah. And I think there was a really good Reddit post discussing Pam Sturm called in a discovery of like a plastic or some sort of a bag, remember, prior to the RAV. And a Reddit post brought up the possibility, because she was a PI or former PI. So even if, you know, we're to believe that all the other lame things they want us to believe, like how she didn't pay attention to all the tag stuff, she would not have called in a plastic like shopping bag or a bag somebody supposed it could be like a receipt bag or a bank bag. You know how when you're on the road you keep cash, checks, and all that in a little bank bag.
Oh yeah.
She would not have called it in as a possible piece of evidence in a case against Teresa unless there was something that made her think that it was relevant, right?
Right.
And the fact that that is not entered into evidence, we have her calling it in, but yet we do not have a documentation of it being collected, what was in it, and all of that. Some people have said that that may be where all that her belongings for that day were. You know, any money or checks she collected. And I always thought that was a really good hypothesis.
I know that there's and I can't remember where they found it, but I know they found part of the zipper that they said come from a some type of pouch or whatever that I guess similar to a bank bag. I mean, when I worked in retail, this was years ago. We had to take. I worked for Sherwin-Williams for several years, and the bank that we used was real close. But we had, if it was during the day, because we weren't allowed to keep over a certain amount of money in the register. It had to be deposited. We couldn't put it in the safe. It had to be deposited. So we would, fill out the deposit receipt and put it in this, you know, probably 8 inches long by 4 inches high, just a zippered pouch. Run it down to the bank, get the deposit slip, and move on. And then, but we had others at the end of the day when the bank was closed. They were a much heavier locking zippered bag.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that would get put in the deposit chute that locked. You could open it. Had a key. You could open it, put it in there, and then it was a heavy, heavy door kind of thing. You close it, and it went down and locked again. So, and I think we may even have a photo of that partial zipper that they said probably came from a zippered pouch. I can't remember where they found it. I don't know why, but I can't.
Why am I thinking it was found in the quarry?
Seemed like it was.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, but I think it was.
I think it was as well.
Yeah. So anyway. Alrighty, I put up our ending photo of this is one of Barb Yonda's burn areas before they, I guess, started taking stuff out of it.
That sums up this case.
Well, I mean, there's some interesting. You think about, they got on this kick about the Daisy Fuentes jeans and finding these rivets, but that people in the country, if they're not going to take stuff to Goodwill, or if they're so in such bad shape, they just burn it. They can get rid of it. And you can see it right there. There's other items of clothing that you're going to pull out of this pile as well. It literally means nothing if there's nothing on it.
Yep. For the past month, my brother-in-law has burnt 6 tree stumps in holes, dug each stump out on my property, and he has methodically burned each stump for the past month. That's what he's been doing, so that we can have more area cleared. And I only live on an acre, so and we only had a half acre in the beginning that was cleared, and then we've cleared the other half acre and took out several trees, and he has burnt 6 stumps. So he has dug a hole, and they have burnt off brush and random items, not like those kinds of things per se, but that's just what you do when you live in the woods. It is, especially if you were raised in the woods. And
That's right.
think that's a key too, because people who lived in the city and then relocated in the woods, they may not have had experience as children with others doing this, but this is very common.
Yep,
It's very common.
It is. 3 Raz says, any news on Bad Boy Remaker? I know he's got a hearing coming up. I know that someone sent in an envelope with photos from many, many years ago. No names I'm going to throw out. We know who did it, but doesn't matter. But anyway, they sent this letter to the judge. It's very public. Been talked about all over social media. When you involve yourself in a live case, it's public knowledge, man. It's
Mm-hmm.
the way it is. But I know that he's got a hearing coming.
I don't know
Um,
about the photos. Somebody sent in photos. What's that about? I haven't heard
well,
that. I've
well,
been sick
you've been
and
in you've been
in
in a
the middle
cave.
of a
You've been
divorce. So
yeah. You're kind of in a bubble. So
yeah,
well,
so fill me in.
now do you remember the club
Yep.
and the photos that were posted? This is from 1980.
Yep.
Those photos were sent to the judge.
Rimmerker wouldn't be a part of that.
I know.
Okay.
Again, hey, the people do it. They say, I would never try to tell somebody what to do, but you just got to remember when you involve yourself in a case like any case, if it's a live case, it's gonna be made public.
Yeah.
Everybody's they don't have any choice in the matter.
No. Because Rimmerker and those photos were taken when? Prior
Well,
to 85, right?
they were taken in 1980
Okay, so
out of
1980. I think
at a,
Rimmerker
at
is my age-ish. So
a
Rimmerker would have been 7, 8, 9 years old then.
yeah, 1980. I turned 19.
Yeah.
It's like, and I know I'm older than you and of course Ramaker.
Yeah.
So
I was getting out of first grade.
right.
So
Anyway, so that happened.
I think Rimmerker's younger than me, to be honest with you.
And I don't know if those were sent on. I think they were sent actually on behalf of the Avery case to this new judge, not necessarily Remaker, but that it did happen. So, and all this is here together.
Right.
It's just anyway that happened. Um, I don't know what day last week. I can't remember. Yeah, it's kind of been all over various portions of social media.
Interesting. I do
Yeah,
have a question regarding last week's open mic.
yep.
Remember we did Jerome had us bring up the RAV photos. Has anyone discussed further the sunroof, no sunroof visor?
Not really. We have other photos, other angles. I actually showed one. I mean, the one that where she's standing in the photo Tom Pierce took, that area is blocked by her head. You can't see it. There's just no way you could see it. I mean, to me, that's just my opinion. I mean, I can show that photo if y'all want. It's entirely
Yeah.
up to you all.
I think that if the RAV she's in front of had a sun visor, you would see it. But that's just my perspective.
Let's see here.
And then don't we have the photo Kelly Pitson took?
Yeah, I showed it too.
Is there a sunroof visor in that one?
Hold on, I'll tell you here. Where the hell did I put it? I know I put it somewhere. Photos.
I'm trying to think, what other photos do we have prior to the RAV? Those are the only two I can think of with her in her RAV.
Yeah, I got it here. Let me take this one off. Shows it right there.
Okay, so it's there.
This one's too grainy. You can't see it,
Yeah.
but you can see something right there, but it's so grainy. Definitely see it in this one, though.
Yeah, so it's definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's what I was wondering about. Okay. So it did have a
Windscreen. That's a
or
windscreen.
well, I think it's a sunroof visor, right?
Yeah, but it's a windscreen. So when you
Right,
open
to
your when
diminish the wind. Yes.
that's right. That's
But
right.
it would not be there if the vehicle didn't have a sunroof.
Probably not. I mean, there were cars that I won't say in the late '90s that came out, but certainly prior in the earlier years when sunroofs and so forth started coming into fashion, they didn't have that. You had this. That was an aftermarket thing you had to put on to deflect the wind. And a lot of people did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh yeah, because it's super noisy.
well, yeah, and it just creates it's like a wind tunnel, so the wind visor that it helped deflect the wind up a little bit. So, anyway,
Back when I used to smoke cigarettes, having them on your car windows. You know how you crack your window when you smoke? If you've never smoked, you wouldn't know.
oh yeah,
But it would make it super noisy. But if you had those wind deflector with you could crack your window and it would be like the window was still up, but you could keep your cigarette right there and it'd draw the smoke out.
that's right.
Yeah. Because I hated smoking in my car with my kid because I only had Kristen because after her, I never smoked in my vehicle again. But with Kristen, when it was super cold or when I had her, I felt better about smoking in the car with the
Oh, I
window
always,
down.
when I smoked off and on for years, but I'd always crack the window, always, even if it was cold. I
Yeah.
just if I wanted it bad enough, I'd just suffer, crank the heater up.
Yeah. Well, because that's the thing. It's like, do I freeze her to death so I don't give her secondhand smoke?
Right.
Or, yeah. Yeah. That was like the argument I'd have with myself. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So anyway, yeah,
thankfully, I
that
don't smoke anymore.
I know Remaker's got a hearing coming up. I don't remember the date, but it's not far away. It's soon. I don't know why I'm thinking end of the year, first of next year.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
soon.
thinking
It's soon.
January 6th, but that's probably not right.
It's soon.
Mm-hmm.
We'll try to get whatever we can out of that, and get it posted for everyone. So, um, anyway, it looks like Danny Brewer's fan has a question. Those fire pit pictures from last week, was that how the fire pit was empty except Lee's with the tire wire and seat wire next to it? Well, they were
Yeah.
after the fact. They were after the fact. You got to remember that Sturdivant, when him and Strauss came over there and he got involved, he goes immediately over to Barb's and grabs a rake and he starts raking that wire out. So anything that was in there would have got entangled in that wire, which I think is burnt insulation from the jumper cables. they wanted to imply that it was bones, but they didn't test any yet. They didn't test any of it for to see if it was bone. They just said it was. They implied it, inferred it.
Yeah, I think Stephen's burn pit was pretty empty except for the frame from the the frame from the van seat.
That was to the right.
That was to the right. The steel wool looking items.
Yeah, it's tire wires from radial tires. That's tire wires.
Yep, that's
that,
what they say. Yep.
that was that ball, because we can see that in the Reese photo. He's the one that took that photo on the 6th, and there's that ball of wire there.
Yep. So the leaves, because it hadn't been messed with in some time, unlike Barb's. And yeah, there was no half burnt items or anything.
No.
It didn't look anything like this.
No. And Lancelot says that there's a preliminary hearing for Remaker on December 30th. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I knew it was coming soon.
And I knew I wasn't right about January 6th.
Well, I mean, Danny's Brewer's second comment here. I mean, my personal opinion is they had a fire on the 30th, because Brendan was there clearly for a while after they got back to Crivets. I think they had a fire. I won't say a large fire, but burning brush and so on and so forth. And then the evening of Halloween, I think he had a small fire burning up whatever was left over, maybe a few other things. I think that's it. Because Brendan wasn't there long. He was clearly there to at least around 9 o'clock on the 30th, maybe even later, but probably not too much later, because the next day was a school day. It was Halloween, so that's what I think. But there could have been a fire earlier in the week to burn other stuff. They just can't remember. Like I said, fire. I mean, the people having a fire in the country is nothing. It's just, it's like taking the trash out, man. It's nothing. So anyway, let's get out of here. We're 2 hours and 18 minutes. That's long enough. Any final thoughts, Christina, before we go?
No. Free Stephen, free Brendan. That's about it.
Well,
yeah.
I want to thank you for your
Thank you.
always good thoughts and good conversation as always, and of course everybody in the live chat.
Yep, that's the other thing I wanted to say is thank you to everybody in the live chat. I am grateful to all of y'all. And
absolutely.
Yep. What time tomorrow, Jax?
We're gonna do it 30 minutes earlier. It'll be at 5:30 Central Time, 6:30 Mountain Your Time. We'll do another couple hours or so, whatever. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Susan and Doc or whoever. I know they had things going on. It's that time of year. I completely understand. Next week, I doubt that I'm going to do anything. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see if we'll do one. But we're going to do this again tomorrow night for sure, and get through a few more of these. If you have any questions, of course, comments, save them till tomorrow. I'm certain I tried not to miss any questions, but we're going to continue on through these DCI reports. And so, like I said, some of them are very interesting to me. I'm really anal about it. I'm really anal about the current date when the report date was made, actual report date, because they're crazy amounts of time between a lot of these, the actual occurrence and when they actually reported it. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to tell you guys, we'll see you tomorrow. This has been a Foul Play production.